Have a lot of time to get to know each other and dig into this content. So I'm hopeful that our session today is a time of deep thought and kind of peace for you in maybe some of your crazy days, right? I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for you to feel supported and an opportunity to discuss some of the work that you're doing and learn from your peers. That's what today is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Second, I've been in and out of Zooms today, so you got to let me catch up with what I'm doing. Here we go. Oh, that's not what we want. That was our music. There we go. Okay, so this is our Homeroom Network community of practice. Our session today is an introduction to the community of practice. Again, getting to know your district and your homelessness response team. This is session 1. For those of you that are way out there, it is March 16th. This is Wednesday, right? We are cruising through this week. Our agenda for today, what are we going to be doing? We're going to get connected. We're going to do some welcome and get to know each other kind of engagement activities. We're going to talk about what it means to be a community of practice. And one of the core foundations of a community of practice are community agreements, right? When we think of a community, how do we engage with each other? How do we interact? What shared language do we use? What agreements do we abide by, right? We're going to kind of start to frame how this space works, and we're going to do that together. That's what we're going to work on for the first part of our meeting. Then we're going to give you some announcements. We've got some fun news. We've been blasting you with emails, so we're going to get you caught up on all the content that's in those emails and get you caught up on what's happening right now, what's available to you right now, what is coming, right? What the future is looking like, how we got to where we are. So we'll do some announcements. Then we're going to do some team building, because this is a team, this is a community. We need to learn how to engage and work with each other, right? Some of us might already be best friends or super good pals. I definitely see some familiar names and faces. Some of us might be totally new to each other. So we're going to respect that whole continuum of whether we've known each other for a long time or we're just getting to know each other today. We're going to respect that whole continuum and be open to new learnings with our peers. We're going to do some introductions so you can get to know the team. We're going to go over our objectives. We're going to do a Jamboard. If you know what that is and you love it, great, you're with me. If you know what that is and you don't like it, we'll power through. It's only a 20-minute activity. If you've never heard of that, don't worry, we're going to walk you through it. We're going to do a small group activity and report out, and then we're going to close. My hope is we might be able to wrap up a little bit early, but we do have an hour and a half planned for today. So if we need to use that full time, we will. Just a quick shout out to my co-hosts as I'm working through this. If you could keep an eye on folks who are popping into the waiting room and just let them in if you see them, I would appreciate that. So let's keep it cruising here. Community agreements, what's that all about, right? Agreements are how we, what we kind of abide by, what is our intention within this space, and what do we kind of agree on. And so we are, COHHIO is going to suggest to you some community agreements, but we are 100% open to hearing community agreements that you may want to add. I also want to recognize this is our first time together, and you may not have any ideas for community agreements right now, and that is okay, because we are going to visit this more than once. So as we work through getting to know each other, we can add community agreements later down the line, okay? So there's no pressure to know exactly what you want out of this community right now. Some things we would like to suggest as community agreements for this space is for you to be present. We want you to spend this time with us here today. This is going to be a highly interactive community of practice. So if you tend to be someone who likes to, you know, listen to your training while you're working on your emails, or listen to your training while you're checking your text messages or listening to your voicemails, I get it. I do that too. But that's probably not going to work for this space, because we're going to be doing lots of breakouts. We're going to be doing lots of engagement in the chat. We are going to talk about other opportunities where you can totally just sit back and listen. But this, our hope for today, is that you show up ready to engage with us no matter what that looks like. You do not have to come off mute. You do not have to turn your camera on, but we would love it if you get to a space where you're comfortable enough to do that. And shout out to those of you that are already doing that with us right now. We see you, we appreciate you. Our next kind of agreement is take space, make space. If you're someone like me, you might be a little bit of a space taker. You talk a lot, you got a lot to say, you're always bubbling up with ideas. You know, sometimes I think I could use like a little zipper and I could just pull that shut sometimes. And you have a lot to share, and that's awesome. Today, I think taking space is wonderful. If you're kind of the opposite of me and you're more of a chat user, you feel a little more comfortable with your camera off, you like to kind of sit back, you know, we're creating a safe space. That's okay if you need to sit back today, but I just want to invite you to make some space, right? This is your place. So I want you to make some space for yourself in homeroom as you feel comfortable. If that's today, awesome. If it's in the next couple of months, that's totally cool too. The next thing, we're all like lifelong learners here, right? We're all connected to the education space and we are driven by our imagination and learning. So I have no doubt that you will be curious and open-minded, right? I love walking into this space because I know that you already approach your work in that way, but that's one of our agreements. Sometimes we get stuck, sometimes we struggle, sometimes the challenges just weigh us down. But when we're in this space, our goal is to be curious and open-minded, right? The next one's really important. We're gonna own our intentions and our impact. What do we mean by that, right? We don't always intend what we do, right? But we're going to be mindful of that in this space, and we're going to recognize that the things we share and say can have an impact on others. And so we're just going to think through our responses. Okay, we're going to listen to one another with compassion and curiosity. I think that kind of goes well with own your intentions and impact, right? This is a shared peered environment. We have compassion for each other because we're doing the same work, right? Maybe in different communities, but the compassion is there because we're all like doing this big lift, right? And we're totally curious. We want to learn how to do it better. We want to learn if what we're doing is the right thing. We want to learn if there's other opportunities out there. So we're going to stay curious in this space. That's a really important part of how we're going to approach the work. We are working on a safe space. My hope is that we will embark on a brave space, right? I don't think we're quite there yet. Today is our first session. So it's all about feeling safe and comfortable and getting to know each other. So we are going to be working towards choosing courage over comfort. You know, my goal in our time together is that we will build a place where we feel really safe, and that is our homeroom network. And once everyone is on board with that and feeling that in this space, we will work towards a brave space where we choose courage over comfort. We say that thing that's on our mind because this is the place for it. This is where we get the support. This is where we work with our peers. This is where we untangle challenges, right? So we're not going to get into all that today, but that's coming, right? So we can be excited about that, and we can think about how we can lean into our courage in this space. Most importantly, most important community agreement is you got to take care of yourself. So I want to balance saying this is a super interactive session with also you might need to step away from your computer. That's okay. In a safe space, we don't shame people for stepping away from their computer. We are open to what you need to do to take care of yourself. If you need to step out and take a phone call, you need to run to the restroom, you need to leave early, you need to come late, that's you taking care of yourself. We trust that you know what you need better than we know what you need. And this is the space where all of that is welcome, okay? And then finally, just be aware of time. I think that's a little more for me than anyone else, right? But if we get into this really discussion-rich conversation and the clock is running, right, just be mindful. Just be mindful of the time and that we want to take space and make space, right? And then another kind of foundational agreement is we have grace, right? We have grace. What does that mean? It's okay. This is a learning space, right? If it were our students here, we would want them to have grace for themselves and others, right? We wouldn't want them to have assumptions about other people in the room. We're going to have grace, and we're going to expect that people are leaning into the fact that this is a safe space, and we're going to have grace for that, for ourselves and for each other. So that means if you share and your voice is a little shaky and you're feeling a little nervous, we've got grace for you. We are okay with that, and we expect that, and that is okay, right? So those are the kind of things we're going to live by in this community. As we're marinating on that, please, if you think of any other community agreements that would help you make this a safe space or help to guide this homeroom, share those in the chat, okay? We will keep a log of those. We'll update this as we go. We will revisit this regularly. This is kind of our, this is our guiding map of how we work with each other, right? Next thing we mention when we think about our community is how we talk to each other, the words we use, right? The words we use are important. We're going to have grace for each other, so it's not going to be perfect, but we are going to work towards these terms that are more inclusive, okay? We're going to use terms like people under 18 and people under 25 instead of kids, right? Or juveniles or minors. These are words that young people do not feel are affirming. So if we're talking about a young person that's under the age of 18, we can say student, we can say youth under 18, but we're going to steer away from just simply calling young people kids. We're going to steer away from calling young people juveniles. We're going to steer away from calling young people minors, right? They are our students. They are our community members. They are the youth within our school and district community. If we're talking about young people who are having a foster care experience right now, we're going to refer to those as youth in care. We're not going to call those wards, ward of the state, kid in custody. We're going to steer away from words like that. We're going to try to use words like youth in care. Again, we're going to have grace. I don't have any like ruler to slap you with if you use the wrong word, and I don't want to, right? We are just working through this, okay? So no one is expected to be perfect. We are not going to use the term homeless youth because experiencing homelessness is not a brand. It's not a button that you wear. It's not a life. It's not a lifestyle. It is not what makes you. It is a moment in time in your experience of life as a journey. Homelessness is an experience. So when we talk about young people that are experiencing homelessness, that's what we say. It takes a couple more words. There's a lot more dignity in it. And that's what we're all about. We're all about care with dignity and support with dignity. So we use youth experiencing homelessness, not homeless youth. Again, we're going to have grace, but that's what we're working towards, right? Again, other language things that are important to you, there are a lot of these. We could probably spend a whole session on language and terms. We're working with vulnerable groups. There's a lot of terms connected to that. So we'll wade into this as the months go by, but this is where we're going to start, right? So if there are terms that are important to you, throw those in the chat. We will log them. Let's talk about principles. What are our principles for this space? We talked about agreements. We talked about language. Now we're talking about principles. This is how we try to open our minds and use that curious space, right? Here's how what our principles are. Let me make my, there we go. We recognize that all communities and districts are unique, but have some shared challenges, and they can learn from each other's experiences. So what I do down here in Athens and Southeast Ohio and what goes on up in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County may look wildly different, but we have some shared experiences, regardless of where we are in Ohio, right? And we respect that uniqueness, but we lean into what we have as peers. We lean into what we can share in this space. We don't make assumptions like, oh, that doesn't happen there, it's an urban. We don't make assumptions like, oh, only I'm dealing with that because I'm in a rural, right? We lean into our shared experiences here and our shared challenges. We embed youth and young adult leadership in decision-making, designing, and implementing strategies. We know that our students have some of the best and most innovative ideas, and we want to ensure that that is included in our approach. We ensure strategies and approaches improve equity, including racial and LGBTQ plus equity, and that is a thread that will run through every single thing we do because we cannot stress equity enough. In fact, our co-presenters today are from our equity and inclusion team, and I lean in on them and I trust them to hold me accountable to ensure that we are threading equity through all the work that we do. We are solution-oriented and creative in our planning and problem solving. We don't get stuck in the challenges. We look for solutions and we lean into our creativity. We promote peer support and shared learning opportunities. We explore, develop, and integrate best practice and core principles. We are all about that. We want to know the research. We want to know the best practice. We want to know what's out there and available to us that is working or cutting edge or a promising practice or a pilot, right? We are open to all of that, and we want to know what the best practices are, and we want to integrate those principles into our work. And finally, I know I'm talking a lot today. That's not how this is always going to go. It's important for me to say that I'm here and COHHIO is here. The COHHIO Course to Home team is here to facilitate conversations, to share knowledge, to build bridges between districts, but we do not own this space. Okay, these are suggestions that we are making about how we can operate community of practice. This is not COHHIO's community of practice. This is a HomeRoom Network. This is your space, okay? So every one of your ideas is important and valuable to us. And these are the principles, agreements, and language that are gonna guide our work today. Again, if you have any other suggestions, I'd love to see them in the chat. If you are with me and this is making sense to you, give me a yes or a no in the chat. If this is working for you, let me know. If you're confused, let me know. If this is not working for you, give me a no. I'm not gonna comment on it. I just wanna see if this is working for you. Okay, great. So we said we were gonna, I see some yeses. Thank you, Andrea and Dawn and Lynn. Thank you, Jackie. I'm so glad you're with me. Okay, so next thing, what is this all about? What is this COHHIO Course to Home? I've gotten like 8 emails from these people. What's going on, right? Well, that's what we're here to walk you through, right? Jamboard only allows us so much content, and I think that's good because we can keep from overwhelming each other, right? So we're gonna give you this information over time. There's a lot to share. So the highlight here is the American Rescue Plan has opened up opportunities for us, right? To find ways to collaborate and partner. And through the American Rescue Plan, many of you received funds to support vulnerable students at risk of or experiencing homelessness, right? Well, the state also receives funds too because they need to be able to support you. And able to support you, they needed to find a partner because they're just ODE, right? Susanna and Betsy can't carry this whole thing on their back, so they've reached out to COHHIO, and we work together to create a vision for this community of practice and the work that we are going to roll out. So there's a lot more to that, but again, we're not working on overwhelming people today. We're just going to try to bring each other along. So we will dive into that more as we have time. Let's talk about what that means and what we have to offer you. So I think of this as like the 5 points of our COHHIO Course to Home, or the 5 stars, or the 5 things that are buckets of what we can do, right? We may not know what all these terms and words mean. That's okay. We're going to learn them together. We might know what all this means right off the bat. That's totally cool too. First things first, we're going to offer training, right? Today is more interactive and learning, but there's also going to be opportunities where we're providing direct training content, new content for you to learn how to better your work. We're going to provide opportunities for system coordination. What does that mean? We're going to find ways to support you in building bridges in your community that create pathways for young people and families to prevent and end their experience of homelessness and keep them connected to your school. Whatever that looks like for you in your community, we're going to support you to do that upon your request, okay? We're not coming in and banging on the door and making you write a 500-page plan, right? We are here to support you at your request to find ways to coordinate in your community. All right, next, community practice. This is what we're doing right now. We're creating these learning environments to support your peered and shared experiences. Finally, next thing, practice guidance. Not only are you going to get emails that are invites and mailing list tests, right? You are also going to get emails that are content and resources to help you do your work. That could be toolkits, that could be checklists, that could be practice guidance, all kinds of different resources to help you support your work. We'll be emailing that out to you. Take it or leave it, right? If you like it, use it. If you don't like it, don't use it. If you love it, tell us. Let us know that you love it and that it's working for you and that you want to see more resources like that, okay? Again, it's at your discretion how you use these resources. We hope that you will use them. And then finally, and probably one of the most important things, is on-demand technical assistance. This is where your school can reach out to us directly, your district can reach out to us directly and request to have assistance from the COHHIO Course to Home team to overcome challenges that you are working through. What can that look like? There is a whole spectrum of what your technical assistance needs might be. On a very direct level, you could be working with a specific family that has specific challenges that you need help finding resources for. You can reach out to us about that. I have an 18-year-old or I have a 17-year-old youth unaccompanied. I'm trying to find a shelter. Can you please help me, right? I just got ARP funds. I'm trying to find creative ways to bring youth into the work. Can you please help me brainstorm? I'm trying to get connected to my local community action agency. I want to attend some of their meetings. Do you know how I can get better connected to my community supports? Reach out, we can help you with that. There is a continuum of what technical assistance looks like. These are a few key examples of some of the needs that you might have. One of the things we're going to be rolling out in just the next couple of days is a quick guide to technical assistance. So we will have a written document that gives you examples of what you can request technical assistance on and what that looks like. But for now, I've given you just a couple of examples of what that can look like. We're going to keep moving here. It's already 11:30. This is how you do it. This is how you request technical assistance. Very straightforward. It's super easy. Just send an email. You can all do it. Send an email, homelesseducation@cohio.org. The more information, the better, right? The hope is that before you send that email, anyone who's involved in the situation has been communicated with, right? So we're kind of making a coordinated response. But if you just need help now, you send that email, right? You send that request, you let us know what's going on. A really important piece of information that really helps us guide you best is to know where your district is located. What county are you in? What community are you in? So please, please, please include that in the email. It helps us to provide resources right now without having to ask you questions so we can provide the right thing quickly. Our goal with technical assistance is to respond to your requests within 1 to 3 days. Our average right now is about 1 to 1.5 days. So we're trying to be as quick as we can to your requests, okay? I want you to know that, but also know that we got a lot of schools with a lot of needs. So if we don't get back to you right that minute, our goal is 1 to 3 days to respond to your request. So that's about the timeline you can expect when you have a need, okay? Let's collective exhale, maybe a quick drink of water because that was a lot of information. And I wanted to make sure we got all that out at the top before we started diving into getting to know each other. So we've sort of set the tone, answered maybe some of the unanswered questions that you had when you came into this session. So now we can actually start to engage. Sometimes I think it's a little hard to try to engage when you're confused and you're not sure where you're at or what you're doing. So I'm hoping that we created some predictability for you and that you have a better idea of what this thing is all about. So if you're feeling that, let me know in the chat. Yes, I'm with you. I get it. If you're not feeling it, please let me know in the chat. I need more information, right? I will make sure that you feel supported, but give me some engagement in the chat and let me know that you're with me, and then let's shift over to this activity. We're all clear? This is all making sense? I see some head nods now that I can make my screen a little better. Okay. Well, so the first thing we want to do to get your brains going back to creative space, right? We just went into information overload. Our brain starts to shut down. That's normal. But now we're going to bring it back online. This is an activity that comes out of a trauma-informed care. So this is an evidence-based activity that can take less than 60 seconds. So you can use it anytime. This is not copyrighted by me. Please steal it, right? We'll probably do this activity a lot because I find it to be really helpful. So when we think about trauma-informed care, we know that the brain likes to think in pictures. It'll do words, right? It'll do sound. We know that. I'm talking right now. You're hearing me. You might have typed something. We know it can do all that. But its first thing it likes to do is work with the mind's eye, right? It likes to see pictures. And so a lot of times when we're working with students, we might say, what do you see in your mind's eye, right? What are you imagining? What do you see in your brain? So I'm asking you to turn those juices on for a second. Look at these images, and which image or a couple of images is really resonating with where you're at today? How does this image portray where you're at today? Your vibe, your mood, your state of being, how your week is going, how your year is going. Let me know. You can throw the letter in the chat if anybody wants to come off mute real quick and share which image is standing out to them and why. Now's a good time.
Lisa, I chose F, the sunflower. They turn to each other for energy, just like we are. So yay!
Thanks, Susanna. I love that. I'm glad you're feeling that warmth today and you're feeling some of our mirror neurons going. Anybody else want to come off mute and share why you picked what you picked? Seeing folks are all over the place today. Quite a few F's. That's good. Or it is what it is. It's not good or bad. I see some E's. Had a lot of E's this morning too. E always makes me think of that, like, I'm just kind of foggy, man. I'm doing my best. This lady is hyper. I'm here, but I'm tired, right? I get that. What else do we have? And then we'll move on. I see a B. That's that kind of middle of the road is how I think of B. Like, I'm just cruising. It's midweek. I'm okay. Everything's okay, right? Well, I appreciate you participating and letting us know where you're at. That's an important way that we can think through how we engage with each other about how we show up. There is nothing wrong with being a C. I'm a C all the time, and there's nothing wrong with being a D either. This work we do, sometimes we're going to be C's and D's. And we just have to kind of take that, right? We already sort of know that, and we absolutely have those days. I would say that I am somewhere between an A and an E. I feel the sun coming, but I'm also kind of a little cloudy and a little tired, right? I'm a little worn out, but I'm okay with that. That's just how I'm showing up. We're going to keep this game rolling. Let's think about what picture represents how we feel cozy or comfortable. And as you're thinking through that and you're putting the letters in the chat, I want to remind you in trauma-informed care, we like to use the word safe. We know that neurobiologically, the word safe automatically helps to regulate us and our youngsters, right? And so sometimes if you've ever asked a young person, what makes you feel safe? And they're like, I don't know. I haven't had much safety in my life. I'm not even sure what makes me feel safe. Another word we can switch out for safety when we can't seem to get what we need with that word is comfort. What helps you to feel comfortable? What helps you to feel relaxed? Sometimes we don't have access to what might make us feel safe, but we can think about what makes us feel comfortable. Let's keep it going. I see some B's. Yep, I'm liking that. A little bit of a winter vibe. A and B, absolutely. I love an A right now. Oh man, all I can think about is sun and sea. We're so close. We're so close to that. Some of you may have already had spring break. Some of you might be really inching up on spring break. So for those of you that are getting close, I'm here for it. I'm excited for you. And summer break's right around the corner too. All right, one more of these, just getting to know each other. Which picture best describes your kind of fun, right? There's a little bit of a difference between feeling relaxed and feeling like you are having fun. Which one of these pictures resonates with you and feeling like you're having fun? D, yeah, I like D too. D, C, Angela went with E. Amy's going C. Up. Anybody want to come off mute and share?
I absolutely love movies. They just take you to another place. So that's my
Thanks,
idea.
Angela. Me too. I'm a total movie head. My den is just a movie library. I love a hard copy too. I'm all good with the streaming, but I love nothing more than a hard copy of an actual movie. I'm super into movies, so we share that interest. Anybody else want to share?
I picked C because I like to go hiking, and it looks a little bit like Montana.
Totally. I like how you can do that snow and the green, right? We don't really have that in Ohio. But when you can go on a hike and like not have a jacket on, but also be looking at snow like Montana or Colorado, somewhere out west, yes, totally awesome feeling. One more, anybody else want to share?
I'll share. I think that the picture in D just reminds me of like a road trip adventure, and like it's nothing just to say on a Friday, like, oh, let's go to the beach for the weekend and drive 10 hours, go to the beach for a day and a half, and then come back. So I love road trips. So.
Awesome, Dawn. I love your sense of adventure. I'm right there with you. did an activity with some districts this morning, and it was their activity, and I just absolutely loved it. It was all about my like off the cuff road trips and sleeping on the side of the road in a car because I don't care, you know, I just want to be there, right? So I'm with you. I share that interest as well. Some people might be like, these ladies are crazy. How are you going to the beach without making a plan? Some of us are like, that's okay. We're good with that. So that's all good. This is how we get to know each other, right? We don't have to know every single detail, but this is how we get to know what some of our shared interests are. We have a lot more in common than we think, and we have a lot to learn from each other too, right? Like maybe somebody's sitting here thinking, man, I wish I could get in a place where I could go on a spontaneous adventure, right? I wish I could be that type. I wish I could work towards that. So we can think about how peer learning is all about how we see how others work, and we can think through what that could look like for us. And we can also just solidify who we are and where we're at, right? Like I'm a planner. There is no way I would ever do that. And that's totally cool too. Like that's the beauty of this learning space and being able to get to know each other. So with that in mind, I want to introduce the team to you today. We're getting warmed up. Our brains are working. We've got our COHHIO Course to Home team here. We also have some COHHIO staff. So we got 2 slides here of introducing ourselves to you. A couple of you popped in here a little bit after 11, and I just want to invite you really quickly, not to put you on blast for coming in, excuse me, after 11, but just because it's really helpful to know who's in the room. If you could please just share in the chat your name and your district really quickly, that would be awesome. We would super appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to let you know I'm Lisa Brooks. I'm the Youth Housing Initiative Director and leading the COHHIO Course to Home team. And I'm going to pass it over to Ami to introduce herself and a little bit about her role.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Ami Diallo, and I'm the Youth Housing Initiative Specialist. And welcome. My role here is to provide technical assistance and training, and we're here to support you, help you connect with students, and just do everything that we can to make you successful in your district. So welcome to this first session. We are so happy to have you here, and let's have some fun.
Thank you, Ami. Deanna's not with us today. She's on spring break. Lucky her. That is our MSW intern. She's been helping us stand up this project, so I'm hopeful that you will get to meet her, but she is behind the scenes and an important part of our team. And we will have a new team member joining us in the very beginning of April, so I'm really excited. That's like a little nugget to come, right? And then I also want to introduce our guest facilitators today. I sort of alluded to them from our racial equity team and our equitable practice training and technical assistance team. We have Josh and Peter. So I was just going to kick it over to Josh to say hi.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here to meet you all. Again, I'm Josh, the Director of Training and Equitable Practice here at COHHIO, and I am joined with Peter Fowler. Pete, you want to say a quick hello? And I go by, I'm sorry, my pronouns are he, his, him.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I'm Pete. I am the Equity and Training Coordinator at COHHIO. Work really closely with Josh on our equitable practices initiatives, trainings, technical assistance, and I'm thrilled to see the numbers present today and the faces on this call, and I am so excited about the initiative and the leadership from Lisa and Ami in this program, and I'm just excited to see how it moves forward and the positive outcomes from it. So appreciate the opportunity to be part of this launch. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Pete. We appreciate your kind words and for you taking time to be here. Let me just say, Josh and Pete are some really, really, really busy dudes. So I really appreciate them taking the time to be with us. And I'm excited for us to continue to connect with them throughout this journey. So thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder, our intended audience for today, because we're going to be working through some specific things and we want to make sure that the folks we're coordinating with in HomeRoom Network specifically is McKinney-Vento sub-grantees, ARP1 sub-grantees, and ESC liaisons who have designated homelessness as one of their core populations that they are working with, okay? If you're not in one of those groups, I want to let you know that there are other community of practice opportunities available to you. You probably already saw some of that. I'll let you know more about that here in a second. But if you're not with that, if you're not one of those folks, you might be in the wrong space. To hang with us today, but make sure that you know that this space is for McKinney-Vento sub-grantees, ARP1 grantees, and ESD liaisons. You have, again, some targeted and specific activities within your funding. And so we are connecting with you based on the resources that you have, and we want to make sure that the content is relevant, right? We have another community of practice that all are welcome. All from your district, all your McKinney-Vento liaisons, anybody who is working to prevent and end youth homelessness is welcome in our Ohio McKinney-Vento community of practice. In the HomeRoom Network, we're keeping it small, right? We're keeping it a little smaller. We have a specific target audience. So I want to make sure that everyone is clear on that. I think our invite was pretty clear with that, but I just wanted to make sure that we're aware of that. You've all already shared in the chat your name and your district. I want to invite you to know that we typically do share our pronouns at the top when we do introductions. I don't want to catch anybody off guard with that today, but I want you to know that moving forward for our sessions, we will invite you when you introduce yourself to share your pronouns. It's just another way that we can ensure that we're practicing equity in the work that we do. I appreciate Josh graciously sharing his pronouns. My pronouns are she, her. We typically like to include that in our introductions. The next thing I want to mention to you, and again, get your fingers ready. I want to see you in the chat. What's one nugget you want to share about something that's working for you as a McKinney-Vento, ARP1, or ESD liaison? We're going to take just a second there. I'm going to be quiet because you might need to think for a second, but I'm hoping we got 27 folks in here. We got to minimize, subtract the facilitators, so we should see around 20 some responses hitting the chat. So I'm going to give you a minute. What's one nugget? It's not a whole paragraph. It's just a nugget of something that's working for you. Keep them coming. Being able to collaborate with people in different areas, that's wonderful. Access to church funds for emergencies, absolutely. Our faith-based partners are critical. Identification and connecting families to resources. McKinney-Vento school teams who meet weekly to discuss families and their needs, yeah. That ongoing coordination and communication is absolutely, I'm not surprised that's working for you. A coalition which has been built, which is passionate about positively impacting youth experiencing homelessness, yeah. It's moving on me. Using good voice to connect with families, they respond well to text messaging. Yeah, being connected to what are the communication modes that are working. Collaboration, absolutely. Program structures, staff division of responsibilities, absolutely. Having that team, right? And what are our roles and responsibilities and how do we do the work? Starting a consortium with 11 districts and growing. Shout out to you, way to go. Teachers mentoring those experiencing homelessness, absolutely. Great cooperation with school personnel. Absolutely. Weekly shelter meetings, evening parent engagement. I love that. I love the way you guys are breaking the 9 to 5 mold, right? Or the 7 to 2:30 mold, or whatever that day timeline is. Sometimes we need to, our crises don't tend to happen on the 8 to 5 timeline, right? Attending local meetings to build awareness so families can be connected. Yes, networking and collaborating. Absolutely. These are great nuggets. Thank you so much. These are nuggets we need to know about. It's really important for us to know what's working. All right. We're keeping this interaction and engagement going. If you have used Jamboard before, give me a quick thumbs up, either with the reactions or just hold your thumb up. Okay, if you haven't, I'm going to go a little slower introducing this. If you haven't, if you have, I just want to know what we're working with. Okay, it seems like for the most part, this might be a first time for folks. Josh or Ami, could you please throw the link in the chat, or Pete, or all the above, to the Jamboard? This is a really cool tool, kind of like the warm-up activity. I really want to try to use this community of practice as a space where not only do we engage with each other, but we think through innovative activities and approaches that we can use outside of this, right? So we can use Jamboard with students. Some of us might already do that. We can use Jamboard in our community meetings or our collaborations with our partners. So we can use these tools. This is just a Google tool. It's totally free. Google Jamboard. It's a resource that's available to you. So how do we use this thing? You've got a link in the chat. So please click the link in the chat. It's going to open a new window for you to Jamboard. The first thing you'll see, let me see who's in here. I don't know if I'm on the same one as everyone else. Josh, Ami, do you see folks going in?
Yes.
Okay, then I need to make a quick adjustment. Here, I don't know if I'm on the same one as everyone else. Josh, Ami, do you see folks going in?
Yes.
Okay, then I need to, Ami, do you see folks going in?
Yes.
Okay, then I need to make a quick adjustment. Keep them coming. Being able to collaborate with people in different areas, that's wonderful. Access to church funds for emergencies, absolutely. Our faith-based partners are critical. Identification and connecting families to resources. McKinney-Vento school teams who meet weekly to discuss families and their needs. Yeah, that ongoing coordination and communication is absolutely, I'm not surprised that's working for you. A coalition which has been built, which is passionate about positively impacting youth experiencing homelessness. Yeah, it's moving on me. Using good voice to connect with families. They respond well to text messaging. Yeah, being connected to what are the communication modes that are working. Collaboration, absolutely. Program structures, staff division of responsibilities, absolutely. Having that team, right? And what are our roles and responsibilities and how do we do the work? Starting a consortium with 11 districts and growing. Shout out to you, way to go. Teachers mentoring those experiencing homelessness, absolutely. Great cooperation with school personnel, absolutely. Weekly shelter meetings, evening parent engagement. I love that. I love the way you guys are breaking the 9 to 5 mold, right? Or the 7 to 2:30 mold, or whatever that day timeline is. Sometimes we need to, our crises don't tend to happen on the 8 to 5 timeline, right? Attending local meetings to build awareness so families can be connected. Yes, networking and collaborating, absolutely. These are great nuggets. Thank you so much. These are nuggets we need to know about. It's really important for us to know what's working. All right. We're keeping this interaction and engagement going. If you have used Jamboard before, give me a quick thumbs up, either with the reactions or just hold your thumb up. It's okay if you haven't. I'm going to go a little slower introducing this. If you haven't, if you have, I just want to know what we're working with. Okay. It seems like for the most part, this might be a first time for folks. Josh or Ami, could you please throw the link in the chat, or Pete, or all the above, to the Jamboard? This is a really cool tool, kind of like the warm-up activity. I really want to try to use this community of practice as a space where not only do we engage with each other, but we think through innovative activities and approaches that we can use outside of this, right? So we can use Jamboard with students. Some of us might already do that. We can use Jamboard in our community meetings or our collaborations with our partners. So we can use these tools. This is just a Google tool. It's totally free. Google Jamboard. It's a resource that's available to you. So how do we use this thing? You've got a link in the chat. So please click the link in the chat. It's going to open a new window for you to Jamboard. The first thing you'll see, let me see who's in here. I don't know if I'm on the same one as everyone else. Josh, Ami, do you see folks going in?
Yes.
Okay, quick adjustment. So just give me 1 second. And I'm giving you another minute to get logged in. Why don't you like me today, Jamboard? Is that link working for others? I don't know. It's like, oh, I see what the problem is. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, let me share my screen again. Thank you for your patience. All right. I see that you all are in there. You may be on the home screen. So let's run through how Jamboard works. This is your normal Google browser, right? Or whatever browser you use. You're in your normal web browser. At the top, you see these squares with like a 1 and a dash. You're going to arrow over past all the slides that we covered Hint, hint, you already have the slides for today because you are in this Jamboard. So yes, we're going to email them out to you, but you already got them. That's one of the other cool things about Jamboard. So you're going to arrow over to 13 of 20. That's our test Jamboard. And I see, it looks like just about everybody is in there. So the way Jamboard works, let me take the sticky note off my screen, is we've got some tools here. Okay, we've got a little pin, can do this with the pin. We've got an eraser. Whoopsie, I didn't mean to do that. I can take it away. We got a sticky note. This is the one I like. So you can grab a sticky note, put your name on it. It will pile up, but that's okay. You can just move it around. You can do you can put an image on here. This is sounding good to me. I can just throw a picture of coffee cup on here. I can add a little shape if I want to. And probably the one folks will really be using today is a text box or the sticky notes, so you can do a little text. This one we don't really need. I'm not sure what the laser is for. I've never used it. But just take a minute, try something out on here. Try to use a sticky note, try to use a text box. We're going to go into breakout rooms here in just a second, and we're going to be using Jamboard. So I want to give you an opportunity to make sure that it is working for you. If it's not working for you, please shoot me a message in the chat. You can send me a private message if you want, or you can send it to everyone. We will support you in getting into Jamboard. And maybe just give me a thumbs up if you feel like you're good. Thank you, thumbs up. Thank you, Jackie. Give it just one more minute. Just explore with this a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to walk you through what we're going to do in our breakout rooms before we go into our breakout rooms. Okay, predictability is key. Everyone likes to know what the heck is going on and doesn't like to do a lot of guesswork. So what are we doing in these breakout rooms? You're going to have a facilitator in your breakout room to support your discussion. So you're not going to be in there alone trying to figure this out on your own. You're going to have someone in there guiding you and leading you. I'm going to be in one of the breakout rooms. Ami and Peter are going to be in one of the breakout rooms, and Josh is going to be in one of the breakout rooms. And we are going to guide you through the breakout room activity. We're going to ask you some questions about what's going on in your district, what's going well, what's a struggle, how are you spending your time, how are you coordinating with young people specifically and or their families. We're going to look at how you're thinking about sustainability. We're going to look at what you need. That's one of the most important questions on here is what you need. How can we support you? You don't know what you don't know. You may not know yet. That's okay. We need to know that too, because we want to help guide you to help support you to ask the questions, to frame those questions for you. So those are some of the things we're going to walk through in the Jamboard with each other. I think with that, if we're all clear, make sure that once you get into your breakout room, that you move into the correct Jamboard. So let your facilitator be the guide on that. If you're in my breakout room, your slide should be on the Jamboard that says Lisa, right? If you're in Ami's breakout room, make sure your slide is on the one that says Ami. So that you're on the correct breakout room, okay? Or you're on the correct board. And then we're gonna come back into the main session. So your facilitator can report out for you, or if somebody's feeling extra cozy and welcome today and wants to share out for their group, we absolutely invite that too. So you decide, and as a group, whether you would like for your facilitator to report out or you want to report out on behalf of your whole group. Are we good? Everyone's clear? Can I get a quick couple of yeses in the chat just because I can't read mine? I appreciate the thumbs up. No worries, Philip. Good luck. All right. Thank you, Dawn. I always appreciate people giving me yeses in the chat because then I know that we are on the same page. All right. With that, give me a second. I'm going to get going with these breakout rooms. Is anyone seeing the option to join? Okay, if you're not, don't worry, I'll get you in there. Who's left unassigned? I seeing? Scott? Scott, you should, it looks like you're in there, so maybe just check your windows and make sure you don't see the option to go. I know it went a little long. There's my timer going off right there. It's because I had to move everybody to the breakout room, and then once I got in there, I set the timer, so you guys got trapped a little longer. Sorry about that. Okay.
Fine. And we could not even go through the second one because like we were having so much fun having conversations. So
Awesome. Good. Well, that's good. All right. And every group looks different, right? So we might have had quieter groups and we might have had rockin' groups, right? I think when I was doing the breakout rooms, I might not have gotten the attendance quite as even as I pictured it in my mind. So you might have had a few more people in your breakout room than you were expecting. I appreciate your grace on that. It's kind of like breakout rooms, let's hope they work, right? I think it worked. So I think we're good. Again, just kind of a quick collective breath. We're almost done and out of here for today. We're just going to spend a couple minutes reporting out and talking about next steps. So I'm going to take a drink because I think I might lose my voice by the time this is over. We are going to see what y'all came up with. Hope I went a little far. Man, our test breakout is rocking, isn't it? Can everybody see my screen? Just want to make sure. Okay, thank you. All right, I want to go last. Sorry, my group. Sorry, breakout 1. Just give me a sec. Let's go breakout 2. Ami, Pete, who's sharing?
I was appointed, Lisa. So I'll take a moment, and like Ami said, we didn't get to the second set of questions because we had a pretty vibrant conversation around the first 3. And so you can see there was a mix of folks in terms of who's working with students and system work. And then the good news is there were bright spots as well as challenges. Sometimes we just hear a whole lot of challenges and no bright spots, but we were fortunate to hear some bright spots and some upside. But of course, there's also the challenges. And one thing that is certainly not limited to our breakout or to this group or to this venture is one of the challenges being the lack of affordable housing in trying to address homelessness. So, but there was a sense that there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of help and a lot of support. And then with the next question about having families with lived experience engaged in the work, there seemed to be a work in progress. It would sum it up. That one sticky note says a work in progress. So there's definitely some impediments and some road bumps to fully engaging families with lived experience into building the table together. So that's definitely something to work on going forward.
Thank you so much, Pete. This is your board for today, right? This is I got everything. I don't want to cut you off. Okay, I just want to make sure. And that is okay on the lived experience, right? Like we have to work towards that. It is in our mind. We see it as important. We may not be there yet. I just cannot stress that enough, that we don't have to have a fully functioning, well-oiled youth action board and monthly focus groups in our community for this to be meaningful. It's important for us to see the value, right? It's not important for us to already be hitting the target. That's what one of the things that this whole resource of COHHIO Course to Home is about, is we're going to be providing you with tools and supports and resources to help you get there. So don't be hard on yourself if you're not there yet. I really appreciate that on your board, folks are working towards this and you're sharing that and you're okay. And we're okay with that, right? All right, I am kicking it over to Josh, who's reporting out from your group.
So I was voted to present. It was a silent vote, but I got the vote. I got the memo just fine. I had a really great group of folks. Susanna, Marcy, Kevin, Jill. And who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Heather. There we go. I was looking for your face, and I didn't. but no, I appreciate that. So I had a really good group of folks. For the first question, majority of folks was primarily system focused, with 90 to 90% system, 10% student, some 100% system, and then one of the folks on the call was 75% student, but majority of the folks were community focused. And with one person discussing that was impacted primarily because of COVID, and the schools who the schools allows to engage in or attend or go to the school. So that was the feedback from that one. I think that also my group did a great job of capturing notes. We didn't talk a whole lot, but it was a lot of information shared via the Jamboard, which I thought was amazing, and which I also appreciate. We had a lot of bright spots, a lot of challenges too. The transportation, I think, was a common theme in two of them, because of the bus driver shortage, but also in the community was a highlight because they were able to work through it and really make some of those connections, even though it doesn't happen as fast as we would like. Some of the other challenges were just engaging with the school district to reach out to the ESC employee, but also another community that was a bright spot of really having the ability to create more community engagement and getting more folks at the table. Again, another bright spot was community agencies, have all been able to network and work well together. Yeah, so I think we had really great feedback for this, and then also for the lived expertise. Majority of folks kind of what echoing Pete is kind of like a work in progress, something we want to do. One of the folks, as you see on the board, we had the plan for youth advisory board, but it was impacted by COVID. And then one of the communities does some surveys and some focus groups to get some of that qualitative information. So I think we were similar to Pete's group on that front. We didn't make it all the way through either, but for building up structures that are sustainable beyond the funding period, I think it seems like one of the responses was more or less like we're kind of finally at that place of really thinking through of kind of how to think about this to be more sustainable. And then one of the communities is tracking everything to really get a better sense of kind of what the need is to begin kind of thinking through what sustainability looks like. And apologies. These were put up there as we were ending the group, so I didn't even get a chance to look at all of these.
No worries. This is great. I think that's perfect. I mean, we're all going to get these, so I'm excited for folks to be able to look over each other's shares. I know in our group, sustainability was either the point where we were starting to run out of brain power, or the point where we've been so busy we haven't gotten to spend as much time on this maybe as we know we need to, or the point where we're struggling. Right. So I think probably my group wasn't alone in that, as this is something that they're working through. Josh, thank you so much for sharing out for your group. Pete, thank you. And Ami, thank you. I'm going to move us back to my board real quick. I paused my screen for just a second. You guys can still see it, right? Just making sure. Okay. Start recording, and I don't want to be having some massive tech issue that I don't know about until I review the recording. So I appreciate you. Our group was a nice blend. We had some folks who were we had one or two people who were doing 100% community-based work. And then we had some 50-50, some 60-30. So we had a nice blend of ways folks are spending their time. Bright spots, we had a lot of bright spots. We had folks sharing about their resource room and having supplies, beyond what you can imagine available to them to be able to meet the needs of students. Also, coordinating directly with the local housing authority to get housing choice vouchers directly to families, which is an awesome partnership. And then a challenge with that partnership, I heard this, I think, from both groups, affordable housing, right? those vouchers are great, but what do we do about finding a unit, right? And I am no stranger to that challenge. And so it is a bright spot, and I appreciate when people see it as a bright spot that you forge coordination with your local housing authority, right? That is a bright spot, even if we can't find a unit every single time. So I just really shout out to my person in the group who shared this, because it's important that we still see the benefit of that coordination, even though across every state in America, we have a shortage of affordable housing, right? So we have to celebrate that coordination. We continue to work on that. COHHIO, we're fighting that every day. We're working to get more affordable housing, right? So this is, it always comes up. It's always a struggle. We are here for it, and we 100% support you. Another really great bright spot that was shared in our breakout room was this notion of having a functional team that's on the same page, working toward a shared vision and having shared goals and healthy communication. That's 100% a bright spot. When you feel like the dynamics of your team are working, we can't celebrate that enough, because that is no easy feat, right? We're on the same page. We all want the same thing. That's 100% a bright spot. A couple other challenges in addition to lack of affordable housing, working with unaccompanied youth that are seniors, they're 17, 18 years old, worried about them graduating with no stable place to stay. That's a worry that we have. Attendance was a theme throughout our group, struggling with attendance and seeing the disparity between students who are able to get to school every day that are not experiencing homelessness, and students who are not able to get to school every day that are experiencing homelessness. And just that takes a toll on us, and it's a difficult challenge to overcome. So it is an important one for us to be thinking about, and we are definitely gearing up to provide some resources around that particular challenge, because we're pretty sure that's pretty consistent across the board. If your school has got some really important strategy that you're working right now on attendance, please let us know about that, because that is definitely something that we would want to be in the know about. Engaging families and students in the work. Shout out to Akron. Their community is doing a lot with the COC and ensuring that they have a youth committee that also includes a youth action board. So that when we think about youth voice and cultivating lived experience, that's kind of the textbook example of what it can look like to evoke youth feedback from their lived expertise and family feedback from their lived expertise, but that's not the only way, right? There's so many other ways. And so I appreciate that folks are thinking about this, progressing towards this. Lighter touch ways of getting feedback. We have folks doing surveys, we have folks doing assessment. I heard some of the other groups, they're collecting data on this and trying to get a better handle on what this looks like so they can move in that direction. Again, this is going to be an important theme for us always throughout the work, connecting with those with lived expertise. We ran out of time on this one, what we could benefit from. So I do want to save a tiny bit of time at the end of the session for that specifically, but I also want to get us out of here. So lots going on in the sustainability sense. There's just one quick couple reminders, and then we are out of here. If while I'm sharing this, you have anything on your mind that you need from us, please put it in the chat. If there's something that you're hoping to get out of this, please share that in the chat. Before we go, reminder, I'm not even going to take the time to put this in presenter view. You all know how PowerPoints work. If you need technical assistance, please send us an email, okay? Don't forget about that. That's a quick reminder. This community of practice, the HomeRoom Network, is set to happen bi-monthly, but we got a little bit of a late start, so we're going to be offering another session next month of this particular group, because we want to hit the ground running and make sure that you have the support that you need. So you will be getting another invite for us for April for this group. After that, we'll be doing bi-monthly for this group. So don't panic. You don't have to be here every day, but this is a resource that's going to be available to you next month and bi-monthly after that. Finally, don't forget the big group community of practice that's available quarterly, where you can invite other people from your school that you may want to get engaged in the homelessness conversation. We'll be hosting that McKinney-Vento community of practice on March 30th from 1 to 2 o'clock. And that session is on an introduction to homelessness. What if you're busy at 1 o'clock on the 30th? It doesn't matter, because we're going to record it and we're going to put it on our website. So if you can't be there, we can still get this content to you. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be on our website. So don't worry if you can't get there. Just know that we're doing it, and that information is going to be available to you. and those sessions are going to be offered quarterly. Lots more to come, but please know that we do have a website. It's cohio.org/youth. You can click on the Ohio Department of Education button, and it'll take you to our COHHIO Course to Home webpage. That's where every email we've sent is listed. Some of our resource guides are listed, and any information that you might need is listed. So don't forget to check out the website. We are at 12:29, so I think this is a good time to wrap it up. I appreciate you all being here today. We thank you so much. We will see you next month, hopefully, right? And you enjoy the rest of your week.